room area he looked up at the clock that was hanging on the wall. It was 5 in the morning and it was his day off. Fuck my life, I hate this shitty seal you put on me, 2chan. He muttered, it might hold the Kyuubi just fine, but you're the problem right now Tobeo. God damn it. He smacked his palm into his forehead protector and once again resisted the urge to sigh. Yep, today was going to be a long day. He went to the kitchen area and got some cereal out of the cabin and milk out of the fridge and put it on the counter. He then took a bowl from the plate rack and poured some of the cereal into it. He then poured the milk into it and carefully balanced the bowl on his way to the table before putting it down. He then sat down and started eating it before looking into a corner with a deadpan expression. You know, Inu-senpai, if you want to join me you can. He stated as an Anbu with gray hair shimmered into existence with his hand scratching his head in embarrassment. Knew you'd sense me at some point. Inu stated, earning a grunt from B Blonde. Come on, join me for some breakfast unless you've already had your fill, that is. Naruto said. The Anbu took his mask off and went towards the kitchen and got himself a bowl of cereal as well. He then sat down in front of Naruto with an eye smile. You know, you pour the milk in first. Inu stated, earning another grunt from Naruto who was busy shoving down the cereal and milk into his mouth. The fuck you talking about, senpai? Naruto asked with a deadpan expression. No you don't. You pour the cereal into the bowl first. Mama, Naruto-kun. No need to be feisty, Inu said with his trademark eye smile before continuing. So, what are you gonna do today? I heard your shishu bolted last night. Yeah, I've got a day off before I start doing missions again. Figured I'd walk around town and maybe hang out with the academy students again, Naruto said. It's not like I got much else to do other than that and train. Dunno what I'd train though. Maybe I can show you a technique or something. My day, after all, consists of keeping you safe. Inu stated, his visible eye still in the formation of an eye smile. Naruto just looked at the Anbu captain with a confused look. The fuck, Kashi Nai? Why do I need protection? I'm a shinobi of the leaf Tobeo. He exclaimed, clearly confused. Yeah well, you're a genin that has been put in the bingo book already. Because of this, Hokage-sama decided that it is our best interest to have a strong shinobi protecting you at all time. Besides, I get to spend some time with my little brother. Kakashi mused. Ugh, you do realize that if I'm in trouble I can just fly away from the scene, right? Naruto asked, disturbed by the fact that the Hokage was coddling him to this level, even resorting to put an Anbu detail on him for protection. Kakashi just eye-smiled as he let out a chuckle. Yeah that's true I guess. Speaking of Hiraishin, how do you even know it? He asked, before elaborating there's only 3 people that know how to use it and they only know how to use it when they're together. I asked them if they had taught it to you and they said that they haven't. I'll answer your question with another question. How much did you hear about my short rant? Naruto asked in return. All of it. Brought up a lot of confusion. Kakashi stated. Well, 2chan fucked the seal up, somehow. Not even I know how he managed to do that. Not the part holding the Kyuubi, but the part holding Kachan's and his own essence in place. Naruto said. At this, Kakashi's eyes widened. What was he talking about? Had Minato tried to seal Kushina and himself into Naruto? To be there for me in the future, in case the seal broke or I had decided to take control of the Kyuubi's chakra, they were going to seal a part of themselves into me. They screwed up hard though, as their memories, knowledge and experiences flooded my brain and almost overloaded it. Said the blonde, ending with a sigh to catch his breath before continuing. Do you know how disturbing it is to have dreams about your parents having sex from both of their perspectives? He asked with a disturbed look on his face. Kakashi's face went into a disturbed frown with a tint of red honing the cheeks. Dude I so didn't need to know that. Kakashi said with a small blush that went unnoticed by Naruto because of his mask. So, in a sense, you're literally a chibi yandere. Yep, I've known how to use Hiraishin ever since I was born, I guess you could say I was born with it. The child joked, earning a chuckle from the elder in the room. Well, that answers that question, but why haven't you told Sandaime-sama about this? Kakashi asked. Because I'd rather keep it a secret, never know who might be listening in. This is the only place I consider to be a safe haven for my stories, as it's protected by Uzumaki-style silencing and barrier seals, Naruto replied with a smug look on his face. Besides, he never asked. Damn, so you really have both of their Fuinjutsu under your repertoire, huh? Yep, couldn't get any better than that, right? Nope, if it wasn't for your weak body you'd probably be bumped up to Jonin in an instant. Hey, I take offense to that, Nai-chan. Naruto exclaimed, clearly bemused by his older brother who just looked at him before he stood up and walked over to the chibi and ruffled his hair into a mess. God damn it, Nai-chan. This is the first time in weeks that my hair hasn't become a mess after sleeping Tobeo. Now I have to fix it, you jerk. Weren't you trying to get rid of that verbal tick, Ataudo? Kakashi mused, earning a sigh from the brat. Please don't remind me of that, Nai-chan anyway, you really don't need to protect me. If I can detect you I can probably detect most assassins and the like, you know that right? The Jinchuriki asked. Orders are orders. Besides, took you a while to sense me. I sensed you entering the place when I went into my room. Just thought I'd give you a chance to reveal yourself. This hurt Kakashi's pride somewhat. If Naruto could detect him, then he really needed to step up his game. Oh. Was the reply the brat got. Don't worry, there aren't many people who can get the jump on me, Naichin. Anyway, I'm gonna go and take a walk, you're welcome to join me if you want to. Nah, I'll go and report to the Hokage, he's probably gonna throw a fit at me for not concealing myself well enough for a genin to find me. BFFT, not even the shinobi no Yami can get the jump on me, much less you, Naichin. Naruto said with his trademark shit-eating grin plastered on his face. Kakashi just sighed at his little brother's antics before putting on the Anbu mask and waved goodbye. With that, he shunshined out of Naruto's apartment to make his way towards the Hokage tower. Meanwhile Naruto looked at the clock again and saw that it was now 6:30. Time flies, eh? Good, the store should have opened by now, gotta get some groceries. Mind giving me some food as well, brat? The dark voice of Kyuubi sparked up, earning a tick mark on Naruto's forehead. God fucking damn it, I thought I blocked your voice out already. Naruto exclaimed in his mind, earning a howling laughter from the oversized fox. BFFT. As if, brat. I just got bored of you. The fox laughed, which clearly disturbed the blonde as his face turned into a frown. Ugh, can't deal with this right now, Naruto muttered as he walked out of the apartment's front door, instantly shoving himself into a girl, knocking her down and dragging him with her. He landed on her face first in confusion. He sat up and saw who he had knocked down. The girl was around 16 years old and had black and blue hair and a headband on her forehead. She was wearing a sleeveless fishnet mesh shirt with fishnet armbands reaching her elbows. He looked at her face and saw who it was. It was Mitarashi Anko, the apprentice of the traitorous Anan Orochimaru. He saw that she was blushing a deep red. Sorry, Anko-senpai. Didn't see you there. The boy said, as he bowed his head. She looked at him in disbelief as her blush faded, now confused as to what just happened. Most people looked at her with pure hate. But here she was, looking at a young genin who clearly knew who she was, apologizing to her. "Ma, it's alright brat, if you wanted to touch them all you'd need to do is ask." She mused perversely at him as his head flew up in the air with the same deep red color as the one she donned just a few seconds ago. His arms quickly flew up into a cross guard. No, I'd never do something like that to Bayo. I have way too much respect for women to even ask such a question. He exclaimed, clearly embarrassed at what just happened. Thought she'd have much more self-respect though, can't be helped I guess. She gets the same treatment her shishu is given in this village. I wonder would I've been treated the same way had Oji-san not kept my status as a Jinchuriki under wraps. He mused, still a bit embarrassed. Most likely, you humans fear everything that you can't understand or control. Came the voice of the oversized furball. Meanwhile, Anko thought something completely different. Is he serious? I don't sense a single bit of malice from him. Does he really not think bad of me or is he trying to trick me? She questioned him in her thoughts before looking at the boy who had just calmed down. They sat there for a few seconds, looking at each other before Naruto broke the silence. You know, I really don't get the whole deal with treating you like crap, he started, causing her eyes to widen. What? Just cause you're the apprentice of a traitor doesn't mean you're supposed to be treated like trash to Bayo, he sighed. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you ever need someone to talk to, I am here for you. He finished as he saw her look of utter disbelief. Had he read her mind? Was he telepathic or something? How the hell did he know what she was thinking? I'm not reading your mind. I just know the look of someone hiding the pain. He stated. I don't like seeing people in pain, much less for something they don't deserve. This statement caused a tear to form in her right eye. Her mask that kept her emotions from surfacing was already beginning to crack. She quickly stood up and ran past him, refusing to believe that he was actually serious about what he said. As he stood up, he sighed in dismay. He really wanted this girl to trust him. He really wanted to be there for her, much like Minato had been there for Kushina. Suddenly he remembered what happened when he rescued Hinata from that Kumonin. What a fucking deja vu that was. It was a mix between Ka-chan being rescued by 2-chan and 2-chan putting me down in the crib the day I was born. Wow, I really do take after 2-chan, don't I? He mused before he walked down the stairs that Anko came from. There was no need to rush anything today. He had all day to do jack shit and he knew that. He strolled through the village towards one of the grocery stores, waving back at people who greeted him. Maybe I should pay a visit to Sasuke and his parents later on. Yeah, that'd be nice. He mused as he entered the grocery store and picked up a basket. After a few minutes, he walked out of the grocery store with 2 bags of food and wetnut and walked back home to fill his fridge. The people around him looked at him curiously. It was not every day you saw an 8-year-old buy their own food. That was usually handled by their parents or their elder siblings. It amused him. He did this a lot, but he usually didn't walk back to his house, as he more than often resorted to either use Hiraishin or Shunshin to get back to his apartment quickly. But, that didn't matter. He had the whole day to do whatever he wanted to do, and it was only little over 7 in the morning. He walked up the stairs and saw Anko sitting next to his door with her legs pressed towards her chest and arms wrapped around them. He saw the sad look on her face and the black tears from her messed up makeup that had rolled down her cheeks. She's an emotional mess, what made her this way? He asked himself as he walked up to her while sealing his groceries in a storage scroll. She didn't notice him as she just stared out of the holes in the protective rail from the balcony that she was sitting on. He sat down next to her and looked at her curiously, wondering when she was going to be broken out of her stupor. She was however clearly aware of him as she laid her head on his shoulder. He blushed a little. This wasn't what he was expecting when he sat down next to her. He just wanted to tease her to get her mood up a little, but he never got a chance. He was surprised by the affection she was giving him. She had clearly thought about what happened 45 minutes ago. He decided to do what he wanted to do from the start. Anko-chan, I know I'm cute and all, but you don't need to rub your cheeks on my shoulder, you know. He joked, causing her to blush as well. He gently pushed her a little bit before standing up, holding a hand out for her to take to help her up. She took it and stood up before releasing his hand. She looked at him. He's really tall for someone of his age. She mused as she wiped the tears from her face with her arm. When she was done, she looked at him again and blushed a little, again. He had a smile on his face that she thought was really cute. What she didn't know was that this was the mischievous smile. She was surprised however when he had taken her hand, unlocked his door and rushed into his apartment with her almost stumbling forward. Come on, let's get you cleaned up, Anko-chan. He said, still smiling. He brought her into the bathroom and sat her down on the toilet seat. She was really confused at his actions. You know, a pretty lady like you shouldn't cry, he said while filling the sink with water. She blushed again. His words affected her more than they should have. What is wrong with me? Why is my emotional mask broken so easily by this kid? She thought. It was clear that he really cared for her, but she didn't want to open up to someone this fast. Especially not some random brat that accidentally bumped into her. He took a towel from the hook on the wall and put it in the water-filled sink. The water didn't overflow the sink, however, and the towel only got somewhat wet. He then turned towards Anko, who looked at his face. She could see his ocean blue yet warm eyes bore into her own, and her blush only intensified. His eyes, they're beautiful, she thought. He had similar thoughts but contained the blush. He shook his head as he took the wet towel and started to clean up the mascara that had run down her cheeks. Why is he doing this for me? She thought, at a loss for words. She really didn't know what to think of this boy. In just a few minutes he had broken her emotional barrier, and here he was, cleaning up the mess on her face. She wanted to believe, she really did. But the 2 years she had spent in Konoha, being called many things, snake whore being one of the names she had been given, she had very little trust left in anyone. There weren't many who liked her as she could count the amount of people that she could call friends with one hand. Why are you doing this for me? She muttered with a sad look on her face. He didn't like it. He didn't want to see a cute girl such as Anko be sad and vulnerable. He knew that she was pretty strong. Hell, she was a chunin for a reason and was considered to be promoted to special jounin. I do this because I don't like it when people are sad, he responded with a gentle voice. She looked at him in confusion, she hadn't expected that. I know what happened to you 2 years ago, and I don't care if your former shushu was a traitor. You haven't done anything wrong, so the way people are treating you is wrong, and if you'd like to, I'd like to be your friend, Anko-chan. At this, her eyes widened as tears started flowing from her eyes. This boy, he had broken through her emotional defenses with little effort. He had utterly destroyed them, and his words moved her. The tears that were going down her cheeks weren't of negative emotions. They were of happiness. She couldn't sense a single hint of lie in his voice. She launched herself towards him, wrapping her arms around him as she buried her head into his neck, letting her tears flow in happiness. He embraced her hug with welcoming arms. Thank you, she cried out. He smiled, at least she could get some happiness in her life. When he had seen her eyes, he knew that she was a mess and that she needed someone to help her. Anko-chan, I know I shouldn't ask you this, but why were you outside of my door? He asked gently, as they broke apart. She looked at him once again with a sad look. He didn't like that look one bit. I was evicted last night, she said with a sob forced down her throat. I don't know what to do, no landlord, but the one for this apartment complex would let me rent, and this one is full, he sighed. His apartment was pretty big. He had a spare room that he rarely used. I guess it can't be helped, the blonde thought, before he chuckled as a smile was plastered onto his face, which confused her. Why don't you stay with me then? I have a second bedroom that is unused. The look on her face amused him a little bit. She had pure shock written all over her. Was all that came out of her mouth. He cracked into a howling laughter, breaking her out of her stupor. Yeah. If this landlord is the only one that will rent an apartment out for you, you might as well just live with me, right? He exclaimed, toning his laugh down to a chuckle. She joined him with a chuckle, wiping the tears from her cheeks once again. She once embraced him in an affectionate hug, which he once again embraced. "Thank you, Naruto-kun," she said, before breaking the hug. He smiled, she was already getting better. He turned around before looking back at her, motioning with his head for her to follow. She nodded as she stood up and followed him out of the bathroom. "You must be hungry and tired, Anko-chan," he said softly. She nodded her head slightly, which clearly was noticed by the young blonde. He looked at the clock on the wall. 9 a.m. They had been in there for almost 2 hours, he mused. He motioned her to sit down at the table as he walked towards the kitchen area, unsealing all of his groceries before putting them in the cabins and fridge. She looked at him curiously. This boy, he knows how to use storage seals, she thought, before she saw him whip out a bento from the fridge. He walked towards her with the bento and 2 chopsticks in hand and put them down in front of her. "Make yourself at home, Anko-chan. I'm gonna go and talk to Oji-san and inform him of you staying here, K," he said, earning a nod from him. With that, he vanished from sight, startling the poor girl. She had never seen anyone move that fast in her life. Not even Orochimaru was that fast. Naruto appeared upside down on the ceiling in the Hokage's office. He looked down and saw 3 Chunin stand in front of the Hokage. He resisted the urge to laugh as they didn't notice him up on the ceiling. The Chunin bowed to the Hokage before walking out of the office. "They clearly don't know how to sense people, do they?" Came the Kyuubi's voice from his head, forcing Naruto resist the urge to snort in amusement. "And be helped, I'm only able to suppress my presence because I'm a censor," the blonde replied. Seeing as there was no reply from the fox, he deducted that he had nothing more to say. "You can come down now, Naruto-kun," Hiruzen stated, amused by the boy's demeanor. Naruto jumped down, startling the Anbu that was stationed in the office. "I didn't even notice him," was the thought that ran through their minds. Hiruzen looked at Naruto. Clearly there was something that had disturbed him, otherwise he wouldn't come here today. It was his day off after all. "What is troubling you, Naruto-kun?" the leader of the village asked. Naruto sighed as he looked into the eyes of his grandfather figure. "I came here to tell you that Anko-chan has been evicted from her apartment," he stated. Hiruzen's left eyebrow flew up at this. This was something he wanted to hear. "And how do you know this?" he asked. "She's in my apartment right now, eating a bento I made yesterday from the leftover food I made." "Am I to assume that you are going to be taking her in under your care?" said the amused man. Naruto sighed as he raised his hand and drew it through his hair. "Yeah, not much else I can do. She doesn't deserve all the hate she's getting from the villagers," he said. "I wonder what would have happened to me if you hadn't kept it a secret." The stationed Anbu got confused at this. Was there something about the boy that they didn't know about? Was secret would cause the people of Konoha to hate him? Yes, it is most likely a good thing I did, seeing how Anko is being treated," stated the old man. He sighed as he looked at his surrogate grandson. The boy had matured much faster than he should have. It couldn't be helped. Kumo's failed infiltration is what caused him to be this way. At least the boy was able to see past the actions of others and had problems hating someone else. It was a quality Hiruzen loved about the boy. It was not something that was to be taken for granted, however, as the boy was intelligent and cunning and could see through lies and deceit with little to no effort. Hiruzen sighed once more as he looked at the boy. "I'll get the paperwork done for you, Naruto-kun. I thank you for letting her in. She is an emotionally fragile young lady that was dealt the wrong cards at an early age. Yeah, I know about the connection between her and your student. Might not like the snake, but she's got nothing to do with him," the boy stated. This earned him a smile of approval from Hiruzen. Then, out of nowhere, a cage bunshin from Naruto popped out of nowhere before it vanished from the room. The old man snorted in amusement. Not many people had the mastery to create a seal-less cage bunshin with little effort as Naruto did. The Anbu around the room looked at the boy in amazement. They had heard about the boy's mastery in cage bunshin and the boy's insane speed, but they thought it was exaggerated. "Damn, this boy is good." Another collective thought that went through the mind of the Anbu operatives inside of the room. Naruto, amused at the fact that he could sense the amazement from the Genjutsu-concealed Anbu, looked at the Hokage before saying, "So, while I was away, has anything happened to the remaining Uchiha?" At this, Hiruzen sighed. "No, they're shaken that their family member would do something like this. I just wished it never had happened," the old man stated while looking into the boy's eyes. It confirmed things for the both of them. For Naruto, it meant that Itachi had spoken the truth, and to Hiruzen it meant that Naruto knew about the truth behind the Uchiha massacre. "I'd refrain from visiting them for a few days, Naruto-kun. I don't believe any one of them wants to talk to anyone at this point," he stated, earning a nod from Naruto. "Well, there goes my plan for today," he thought. "Well, I better go now, I'll see you later, Oji-san," Naruto stated before vanishing like his clone did a few minutes prior. Naruto's clone appeared in his apartment and looked at the young woman that was sitting at the table, eating the bento in a rapid manner. He walked towards her with an amused look on his face. She was either too into eating the bento or she genuinely didn't sense him close to her. He stood behind her for a few seconds, clearly amused by the fact that she was devouring the food he made the day before. She moaned in delight with every bite, much to his amusement. He decided to put his finger to her side, causing her to fly up into the air in both fear and embarrassment. She landed with her feet on the chair with the chopsticks in each hand, frantically looking around her before locking her eyes on the amused blonde that was looking up at her with a shit-eating grin of mischief. She relaxed her muscles and sighed, if the boy kept this up he'd give her a heart attack. God damn it, Brad, why did you do that? She cried out, earning a laughter from the clone. The clone lost control of his laughter and fell down on the ground, rolling around laughing while holding his sides. Haha, that was fun. Haha. He exclaimed in between his laughter. Anko shook her head, clearly not amused at the boy's antics. So, weren't you going to the Hokage's office? She asked, jumping down from the chair. Yeah, boss is still there. I'm just a cage bunchin'. The clone stated. Anko's eyes widened into the size of saucers. The fuck a cage bunchin', she thought. Naruto, just how many secrets do you have? After a few moments the clone had calmed down and was up on his feet again. Well, I can see that you're done with the bento. Let me clean that up for you, said the blonde before taking the chopsticks from her hands and the bento from the table. He then walked towards the kitchen and put the dishes down in the sink before turning on the water to clean them off just a little bit. Anko had in the meantime walked to the couch and laid down, promptly falling asleep after a long cold night. The clone looked at her with amazement. Someone so troubled was able to look so peaceful. He walked towards one of his drawers and pulled out a blanket. He then walked to the teenage girl and put the blanket over her. So peaceful, he mused, before silently vanishing to a random location so that he could dispel without waking her up. Meanwhile, Naruto had appeared on top of the monument that harbored Third's face. He looked down onto the village. It was peaceful and the view was amazing. The birds flying over the village, the sun shining on the roofs and the children running towards the academy. He sighed happily. This was relaxing. He needed more of these days where shit didn't hit the fan. Suddenly, his eyes flew up onto the sky, his body tensing up for a second as the memories of his clone invaded his mind. He relaxed and smiled. Anko was fast asleep and had apparently enjoyed her early meal. Good, it looked like she needed it. He thought as he looked down at the children running through the main street of Konoha. They were happily playing around. He thought about joining them, but resorted to not doing so. He had outgrown his friends at the academy and the other children in the village. I wonder what they're up to anyway, he thought. I could go and visit them. I wonder if Iruka is working today. You ain't gonna find out until go and take a look, brat. The Kyuubi said. You just like to annoy me, don't you? The blonde thought, much to the amusement of Kyuubi. Can't escape a seal, so I might as well try and annoy you to death. The Kyuubi said, earning a displeasing groan from his warden. Yeah, well, you're welcome to try, he muttered, before his eyes widened slightly as he sensed a familiar presence a few meters behind him. He stood up and turned towards the presence as he looked at the newcomer in the eyes. What are you doing here, Itachi? Itachi was running fast. The Anbu that had been looking at the fight between Naruto and himself had started chasing him. He couldn't get caught, and he knew that. He couldn't get caught as it would jeopardize the mission he had taken on. He had to get away. This is bad. I might have given myself an even bigger reason for Konoha to chase me down now, Itachi thought in dismay. Oh well, I'm almost at Kisam's position. Hopefully with his help I can at least disorient these, and his thoughts were interrupted as a strong gust of wind crashed into his side. Shit. The young Nukenin thought as he flew through the air, crashing into the ground before doing a flip and landing on his feet. What the hell was that? How did I not sense that Futon ninjutsu? He looked up and saw a young bearded man in a standard Chunin outfit and a red sash over the belt. His eyes widened slightly at the sight. What the hell is Saratobi Asuma doing here? Isn't he supposed to guarding the daimyo? Surrender or be terminated, Uchiha Itachi. The bearded man called out, eyes narrowed at the young Uchiha's own. Itachi resisted the urge to sigh as he quickly put a genjutsu onto Asuma before breaking eye contact, looking around the small clearing that he had landed in. Poor Anbu, great. Itachi thought in dismay. If I don't run, I won't make it out of this alive. With that, his hands flew through a few hand seals before he took a deep breath. Pain. Gakakyu no Jutsu. He thought before exhaling a large fireball, aimed towards the young Anbu, quickly jumped out in order to defend the unassuming member of the 12 Guardians. Using this confusion, Itachi quickly disappeared, leaving a cage bunshin behind as a second distraction. The morning had been great for the young medical Ninkido. The only ones who had the need to be treated for anything were mostly civilians who had the usual flu or a cold. He was walking towards the reception of the hospital, ready to start his second round for the day. That is, until a yellow flash suddenly illuminated the room and out of it came a young, wounded genin who fell flat onto the hospital floor. The boy was battered and bruised, his visible skin was scorched, and his clothes were either torn apart or burned. He had just gotten into the waiting room to witness this. The boy groaned as he turned his body to put his back towards the floor, with a burned hand nursing the side of his stomach. Ouch, that hurt, came a hurting groan from the young boy. Eyes wide, Kido rushed towards the boy and kneeled before him. "Are you alright, Naruto-san?" He frantically called out, only to receive another pain groan from the boy. "I need some help over here." The medic nin yelled out as he ripped the boy's tattered shirt apart and went through the hand seals for Shosen Jutsu as his hands was enveloped in green chakra. He put the hands on the boy's stomach and started analyzing the boy's body for both internal and external damage. He sighed in relief as he felt the boy's internal damage heal itself rapidly. "Man, I really like that shirt," the boy managed to quip out in between his deep breaths of pain. Kido barely held in a chuckle at the boy's nonchalant behavior. "Hold on, Naruto-san. Your body is covered in second-degree burns and your internal organs have taken a beating," the medical nin said to the boy. The boy tried to laugh, only to wince in pain, but smiled nonetheless. "Yeah, well, stand too close to an exploding clone and this is what happens. I should know, I just did it," he said with a non-serious tone, trying to calm the medical nin down a little bit. His efforts weren't in vain as Kido chuckled a little before switching the Shosen Jutsu to healing mode to speed up the rejuvenating process of the boy's internal organs. "This boy, even in extreme pain, he still manages to make jokes," the medical nin mused. At this point, a squad of medical nin had just gotten into the waiting room and assisted Kido with the healing of the boy's body. They continued to heal the boy's damaged organs, and they quickly realized that Naruto's body had a healing factor that was almost unheard of. They were just about to ask Naruto if he needed something for the pain, but he got to that question first. "Mind giving me something for the pain, sensei?" the boy asked. They nodded as they gave him a dose of pain-numbing narcotics. The boy's vision became blurry before his eyes closed. I still had a kunai left, he thought before he gave in to the painkillers. Naruto looked around himself. All he saw was a bunch of pipes, water that went up to the end of his feet and a gate bigger than the Hokage Tower. He sighed, he knew exactly where he was. "Great, I'm in my mindscape again," he muttered as he looked towards the gate. He saw a pair of red eyes the size of his body look at him and soon the Kyuubi surfaced from the darkness inside of the cage. The fox growled at Naruto but didn't even receive a wince in return. "You really screwed that one up, brat." The fox growled, "Now I have to fix the mess that is your body and knowing you humans I won't even receive a thank you for it." Naruto just sighed at that remark as he smacked his hand into his headband. Did the fox really think that little of him? "Well, I am grateful that you're healing my body, furball," he said, "but if you're gonna be this bitchy about it, then why should I thank you? By healing me, you're doing yourself a favor, you know." The fox just growled at the unwavering boy. This boy had some huge balls to speak to him like this. "And what is that supposed to mean, you little brat?" he said in anger, eyes boring into his host. The boy chuckled as he met the Kyuubi's gaze, a cocky grin plastered onto the child's face. "What I mean is, wouldn't you rather be locked into a strong seal than be out there where Madara is?" the boy questioned him. Kyuubi grumbled in response and saw the boy's grin widen. "I guess you have a point, but that still doesn't mean you're not a little brat," the Kyuubi retorted in a childish manner. Naruto just laughed. Even the Kyuubi could admit he was wrong at least once. Kyuubi growled in anger at the boy, clearly frustrated by the boy's word. This only fueled the boy's laughter as he fell down into the shallow water, holding his sides laughing. "Don't get your panties in a twist, Kaiwu-chan," the boy quipped out in between his laughter, still rolling in the shallow water. The oversized fox let out a menacing growl towards the boy as he tried to push Chakra out of the seal, but it was all in vain. "I hope you drown in this filthy sour water, brat." Ahahaha. After a few moments, Naruto had calmed down from the banter and gotten back up onto his feet. Amazingly, he wasn't drenched in the sour water. In fact, he was as dry as sand, which confused the almighty fox who had no clue as to how that was possible. He brushed that aside as he could only speculate that the boy was somehow able to control the mindscape. "You really can't take anything seriously, can you?" the oversized nine-tailed fox sighed out in dismay. "Well, you're the one that was annoying the living hell out of me earlier today," Naruto responded, earning a grunt of dismay from Kyuubi. "Yeah, whatever," grunted the fox on a completely unrelated topic. "That last jump you did was really sloppy. You let the flash out." At the last part, Naruto's eyes widened. "Shit. How many were there even in that room?" he asked the fox. "Only you and some old lady. Hopefully she was as blind as a bat," mused the fox. "Not that I care at this point though, you use Hiraishin almost all the time anyway. It's probably the worst kept secret you have." Naruto sighed. What the fox said was true. It was his worst kept secret. True, he started. I guess there's really no point in hiding the fact that I can use Hurration, is there? Do I really have to repeat myself, Ninjin? The fox grunted. No, there is no point in hiding it. Hell, it will probably stir some fear in the enemies of Konoha. I suppose